What's up, guys?
Hey,
Welcome to
Hey,
another
how's it
episode
going?
of the Harbor Podcast with your boy, the king of all Kino, the Kino Cowboy. Joining us today, we got Brennan, our Godfather Kino King, and then we got Just Dylan over here, and then we got you know who over here.
dickhead.
Yeah, Dickhead.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Today we're going to be talking about the Godfather Coda, which is a recut that Francis Ford Coppola just put out of the notorious third parts of The Godfather. And we're also going to be discussing the other two movies, a little bit. But first, I'd like to start with the recent announcement of Disney's Investor Day, where they're putting out 15 Marvel movies, 15 fucking Disney movies, 15...
No, literally over 100 new shows. Literally over 100.
Only over the next few years, which is absurd. Are there any of these projects that you would actually, watch?
Well, it's weird seeing all that shit come out randomly. I was like, oh my God, because I'd realized that I was happy. And there's a silver lining to, the pandemic we're currently in. It's like, I haven't seen a Marvel thing in what feels like ages. And I honestly was like, okay with it, So seeing all that, I was like, all right, I can get excited for things again, at least relatively excited, But as far as the content goes, I don't know. Really just Spider-Man 3. I want that.
Content.
What?
It's not art. It's not movies. It's content now.
I know. I mean, it's an
But
investor.
YouTube already made that decision.
I know. I mean, it's an investor.
Adrian and I were on Discord watching the live stream together, and we were talking about how gross the corporate language is. They're calling the audience consumers
Yeah.
the whole time. They're calling everything content, and it's weird. We've all become so conditioned to just being called consumers of just like jam crap in your face. Don't worry about the nutritional value of what you're watching. Don't consider how it like fulfills you spiritually or emotionally or stimulates you intellectually. Just kill time and take our ad revenue and sell your data to us.
But isn't it, in a way, though, isn't that better? Because, it's not like if they didn't call you a consumer, they would be giving you actually good shit. It's like they're just laying it all out there. You're a consumer, I'm feeding you, shovel it down, you fucking foie gras goose.
I do kind of think it is sort of a lube, if you will, to them just screwing us. But I was absolutely in shock when they said 10 new Star Wars series, and I don't need any of them.
Honestly, the Star Wars shit is where I'm like, let's just not have. I like my Star Wars to be sparse, just the most minimum shit.
Of course.
Marvel shit, whatever. I've been conditioned to just see Marvel shit every single year, multiple things, so I don't care about that. But the Star Wars shit, I'm really enjoying The Mandalorian right now, and I like it that it's just short little things and that's it.
And I'm worried that the Mandalorian is going to feel less special now that all this crap's coming out. Who gives a fuck about Cassian Andor? Who?
I don't give a shit about Boba Fett, dude. I don't want to fucking.
I do like.
Now that's a strong statement.
Dude, Boba Fett. They had to make Boba Fett interesting after Empire Strikes Back and Jedi.
I like him as just a side guy. I like him as what's happening in The Mandalorian right now. I like that.
Well, he's not getting his own show.
I know it's not confirmed, but they were talking about it after that investor meeting came out. They were in talks about.
Here's the thing, fuck all this other shit. We don't need all this shit. I kind of figured that they were going to do an Ahsoka spinoff or something.
That episode was totally a backdoor pilot.
I'm cool with that because I want a sequel to Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I'm cool with the Bad Batch because it's basically Clone Wars Season 8. That's what it is. But everything else, we don't need all that shit. What the fuck?
I could not give a fuck about the Bad Batch or the
I love
the Rangers of the Republic or whatever the fuck that
Rangers,
one is.
Dude.
I couldn't give a fuck about those.
I don't remember all of them. I like not knowing what Obi-Wan was up to between episodes 3 and 4. I like the mystery. It adds to his character. We don't need to explain every single hole in the canon. That actually shrinks the universe. It doesn't expand it.
Right.
But Scott,
you limit
think
possibilities
of the
of
poor
money.
shareholders who aren't getting their dividends
Dude,
in a timely manner.
Adrian made 45 cents off of that investment meeting.
Right.
You should.
Oh my God.
You should have, man. You really should have just put all of the like $17 to your name in that.
Yeah,
I
man.
wish I had.
Yeah, if I would have put in like $5,000 in there, I would have made like 500.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a weird stock market's not real. But
okay, beyond all the jaded corporate side of it, like literally, is there any show or thing you saw that was like,
no,
all right, like Marvel or
that.
Star Wars?
I would be okay. I'll say it. I would be okay if there was never another Star Wars movie or TV show again.
Okay, forget Star Wars, like Marvel shit.
I would be okay if there was never another Marvel TV show or movie ever again.
As much as I don't want all this shit, there's one of those Star Wars shows is taking place in the High Republic, which is new territory. And if that's done well, then, you know, I could be interested in that. But
in the Old Republic?
No, the High Republic,
okay.
Which is the age of the Jedi, a little bit right before like the Phantom Menace era.
Okay.
Like
I think it's like 200 years before the Phantom Menace.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that sounds pretty interesting.
If it's done well, and it's not fucking.
But will they have to? How are they going to make all their references to Jabba the Hutt and Luke Skywalker and all the?
Jabba the Hutt would Jabba would still be alive, wouldn't he? Yoda. And so would Yoda.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's some people who could fit in there.
Frank Oz ain't. Here's my fundamental thing. They're trying to treat Star Wars like Marvel, but not branch out. The thing is, and they've kind of done it with The Mandalorian because it's more Westerny, but. With Marvel, you have so many different properties within Marvel that you can have your Thor. I feel like it's actually become more homogenized with all the crossover stuff. But you can have your Thor, and then you can have your Captain America spy movie, and then you can have your like Spider-Man teen movie, and all these different subgenres that still equate to Marvel at the end of the day. While Star Wars, I feel like you don't have that melange of flavors that you do. It's all rooted around these 3 movies made in the 80s. And it's like they're trying to expand it, but also not expand it because everything has to relate back to those 3 movies from the 80s. You kind of can't have it both ways, which is why you just need to go, you know, ape shit and do High Republic stuff. And
maybe that's kind of what they're doing. They're just, I mean, they have all this. I mean, they really shot themselves in the foot, I guess, by tanking the extended universe back when. But
they're bringing back what they want.
Yeah,
I think because they've already brought back like Thrawn and like some other stuff.
I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the High Republic is a lot of Old Republic, just kind of reforged into this, you know, that type of stuff.
Which is fine.
Which, you know, and also I think about the Marvel stuff too. I was thinking about it. This feels like almost like a phase 1 again, like a reset, because a lot of the stuff and the things that I've been seeing just by directors and decisions to be really just go all out. I'm hoping that this is a lot more like director-driven, like era of Marvel stuff. Like
that'd be nice.
You know, I think I could see that being. You know. You'd see where do you go? You start just going balls to the wall in a totally different type of way, and I think that's what they're doing.
We have the Celestials movie or whatever coming out.
We have like
or Eternals, not Celestials. So we're getting really into the cosmic stuff, which I'm sure general audiences will eat that slop up. But I do wonder. I mean, like, I don't know, Adrian, your mom has watched Marvel movies, but how much harder is it going to be to sell her on the Eternals than on Iron Man? One of those concepts is a lot easier to explain to to an aging Gen X woman. No offense, but you know what I mean. Like, my dad's 60, you know.
But they did it with Guardians. People didn't know who the fuck Guardians were, and that
Guardians is similar or worse.
But they also, I mean, they threw Chris Pratt in there, and everybody who
you got Kit Harington. You got Angelina Jolie. I'm saying we haven't seen a single thing from the Eternals. Who knows what they've marketed it as? You know,
who knows?
Like, holy shit.
Yeah, Kumail Nanjiani.
Yeah,
I'll be watching WandaVision because that interests me, and like.
Well, and that is like related to the new Doctor Strange, which
multiverse shit, you know, stuff like that. So I will be watching that.
And that is them. And if you don't know what WandaVision is, it is what's her name, Scarlet Witch.
Yeah,
who's Elizabeth Olsen. And
fucking terrible accent.
Yeah, which she got rid of. Just she happened to lose it.
Oh,
She
yeah.
took a ton of ESL courses and accent courses between Age
Each
of
movie,
Ultron and
yeah.
Infinity War.
Each movie, it was like progressively less of an accent.
Yeah, and then they were like, just stop doing that.
Yeah.
And then in Vision, who's a robot android, if you don't know,
Yeah.
they're almost unstuck in time, Slaughterhouse 5 Kurt Vonnegut style, it looks like, and they're jumping around between different eras of sitcoms. Like you have your 80s sitcoms, and then your I Love Lucy, and then your modern sitcom, and so the production changes within. We'll see if they actually do anything with that, and if it's not just indulgent. But
Yeah.
Did you guys like look at any of like the new casting? Because that's what got me really excited. Is there a lot of casting stuff? I was like, holy shit! Like,
But if you had to try, like, just talking about the casting, if you had to try to get somebody who is, say, me, who's totally disinterested, to actually give a fuck, what's your elevator pitch casting wise?
well, if we're talking about one that's the new Thor movie, which is already written and directed by Taika Waititi, which if you've seen any of his movies, I think that's a pretty good seller right there. But also the bad guy is Christian Bale. And that's that's a pretty
that does
that's
grab my
gonna be
interest.
That is a shakeup, man. Someone like that doing the villain.
Yeah, that's gonna
Yeah.
be.
you mean Batman?
He's
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
be the bad guy, man. I think that's a pretty good, like, hey, eat that.
I would say
See what
Taika
that's about.
Waititi is that I'll watch pretty much anything he does. I say that not having seen any of his Marvel shit.
He's making a Star Wars. I mean, Thor Ragnarok is easily one of the better Marvel movies.
Yeah, it's
It's
definitely
fucking
easily.
hilarious.
Mainly because they let him just do whatever he wants. They're just like, yeah, just make your weird space
Well, see,
comedy.
and that's what I'm hoping for this next phase of whatever this Marvel shit. I think more and more they're like, hey, get these directors, do what the fuck you want. Like,
They've already established it as a brand so much now, and it's so ingrained into everybody's, things. I mean, my kids here in third world country of Madrid, they all love Marvel and talk about Marvel and wear superhero shirts to school and stuff. So like, they have turned Marvel. I mean, it was already globally famous, but it's become such a huge global phenomenon the past 12 years. Like, I think they can take risks because bright people will eat that slop up.
I mean, I think
the trunk.
it's just like the age of like the movie star selling a movie is pretty much over. Like, people don't go to Marvel movies to see, Chris Evans as Captain America. They go to see Captain America. And
There's a good video of Anthony Mackie talking about this, saying Anthony Mackie is not the movie star. The Falcon is a movie star.
Exactly. Yeah.
And soon we'll have AI acting instead of actors, so the studios and investors won't even have to pay actors, and then we can really make content and not art, because you won't have people making movies. It'll just be robots making movies.
Not in theaters either. Just on your Android.
It'll be like I read a Philip K. Dick story once where this guy came up for an idea for a novel, and he pretty much just like fed it into this machine, and it spit out that novel and like 3 others, just like sequels, just based off his like basic ideas. It just extrapolated from that. And we're going to get to that point. You're just going to feed in the marketing data, or you're not even going to feed it in. The machine is going to feed it into itself, and it's going to become this entertainment singularity where it just keeps making and churning and pumping out content for us all to consume.
I hope I'm dead by then.
Anyway, that's
in about 6 months, Dylan.
I'm in a much worse mood than I was when this started, by the way.
Welcome to the harbor, everybody.
all right.
Should we talk about Italians killing each other?
Yeah, let's go into the Godfather trilogy. I'd like to start with asking. I'm not gonna even. Okay, which of the movies is your favorite? Because some people prefer the first one. Some people think second is superior. If you think the third one's the best one, I want to know why.
I would love to hear that.
But, we're gonna need exhibits and charts to understand that kind of opinion.
It's obviously Sofia Coppola's acting. That's the best.
Yeah.
Not
Oh,
that
Jesus
bad.
Christ.
Second, all right, Scott. Which one's your favorite?
I think I'm gonna go with the first one.
Okay.
I love the 1917 or just early 20th century stuff. in Godfather Part II. I would watch a whole movie that was just that without. But that is, maybe 40 minutes or 45 minutes of a 3 hour and 20-minute movie. And granted, this was my third time watching The Godfather Part 1, and I enjoyed it the most this time. It's a complicated story, and also I get lost, like, when they talk about characters who are off screen. I have trouble remembering their names because they're all
a lot of names.
Sicilian. They're all Sicilian too. And it's not John. Tom Morgan is like the one like Anglo name in that whole.
You mean Tom Hagen?
Tom Hagen, exactly. Tom Morgan is that Red Dead Redemption? No,
there's Arthur Morgan. I don't know.
That's Arthur Morgan. But anyway,
that's a good guy.
Because he's German Irish, but it gets very confusing. Also, I wish he was here. The only other time I've watched The Godfather Part 2, our mutual friend
let's preface this whole thing.
Had pirated it, and he didn't download subtitles, and he tried to convince us that the movie didn't have subtitles. You were just supposed to like interpret.
It was the artistic choice,
and he was adamant on this. So we watched all that Italian without subtitles. And so I did enjoy that as having subtitles a lot more this time. I will also say for my viewing experience, because I just like ran out of time in my week, I watched yesterday. I was off work. In the morning, I watched Godfather Part 1, and in the afternoon, I watched Godfather Part 2. So I had about almost 6.5 hours of Italian mobsters crammed into my Monday, so that by the end of Godfather Part 2, I was pretty bleary-eyed. That probably has something to do with it. They're both masterpieces of cinema, and then they're both practically flawless films. I mean, it's hard to fault either of them.
Well,
yeah. But one, I'll say, it's a bit cleaner.
I used to love too, like a lot. I loved the dueling stories, like as kind of happening at the same time, kind of paralleling, each other. And I love what Scott was saying about, like 1917 type of old timey America. So that was great. But I recently rewatched the second one, and that Cuban stuff gets not boring. I wouldn't say it's boring, but it definitely it's not as good as like the first. Like the first one is so tight, and the drama is always happening, and the performances are just like one after the other of just like nonstop, really great, gripping performances. And I think the arcs, like all the arcs in the first movie, are better. So I would have to say the first movie.
Yeah,
I love that movie. I think it is actually a flawless movie.
Yeah.
All right, Brennan.
I guess that's going to be 3, but I'm going to just by a hair's breadth, I've got to say 1. And it's mostly for the same reason you say. Like, I think 1 is a movie where every single scene flows directly from the scene that came right before it.
It's like a perfect lead-in.
2 is almost exactly like that, except for the Senate hearings. And when the Senate hearings, it doesn't come out of nowhere. Like it makes sense in the context, but it is just a little bit jarring when it goes from, okay, we're in Cuba, we're doing all this stuff. Oh, the communist revolution happened, and then we're back in Sicily with Vito, and then, what's that? Oh, right, the Senate is happening. Okay. But that said, I do go back and forth. You happen to catch me on a Godfather one day, but if you ask me tomorrow, it might be 2.
I agree with that completely. It's like it's a flipping thing.
All right,
Adrian.
Yeah,
what about you?
I have to go with the first one then.
Yeah.
I just
Be different.
For me, like rewatching the Godfather, this is the time I liked it the most. Rewatching it, and it felt like, when you're watching that opening scene at his daughter's wedding, it just feels like you're looking at like cinema, like holy ground. Like it's like, you're just like, oh shit, this is like high art, like
it's a painting. It feels like you're looking at an old photography book of like an old
it's family. The movie that changed movies. Yeah. That brought us into a whole nother era of how to make high drama, like really good, like
gritty,
character-driven
drama,
complex, and just amazing. And man,
that movie it
All I-
changed everything it touched. Like the
Yes.
mafia, the real life mafia changed afterwards. Like they actually started wearing suits and shit, which they had never done before. And like the filmmaking changed. Like people started interacting with the movies they watched in a different way. I mean, there was, in a very real sense, there was a before and after The Godfather in certainly America.
Well, we got to
to
talk about Francis Ford Coppola, because that's also the time in the 70s. Everyone's at USC. You got like Brian De Palma, Coppola,
Right.
Spielberg, Lucas. They are all these young kids who like they start like independent movement basically in Hollywood, and they start making their movies like Godfather, American Graffiti, Jaws, all that stuff. It's like a revolution in Hollywood in and of itself, and it's crazy how they all kind of came up together and they did these vastly different things that like really utilized filmmaking techniques of that era and like changed it completely. It's crazy
That's
how
awesome.
that little speck in history just like exploded and changed the way we watch movies.
Man, how many audience members today do you think could like? I don't know. This is such a cynical thing, but the whole time I was watching The Godfather, I was like, dude, audiences today would not go for this shit. If somebody was like, hey, I have this 3 hour and 15-minute movie I want you to watch, and then also half of it is in Italian and you need subtitles, nobody would buy fucking tickets. People won't buy tickets for, movies that are speaking in American. So like,
No, I mean, I'll do you one better. My brother, who I respect, he's a smart guy. I really think the world of him, except when it comes to movies, because to this day, he still has not made it through The Godfather. And I
how old
once,
is he?
he's a year younger than me. He's 26.
How old is he? He's 27.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm 27.
Yeah. Well, he just like, I remember one time like trying to physically restrain him to make him watch this fucking movie. And he was just like, I don't get it. It's boring. I wanted, I was about to kill him exactly like they killed Carlo. I was like, kick out the fucking windshield. I'll fucking murder you.
You gotta pay attention, and it really does reward repeat view. I mean, the first time I watched it, I liked it. I wasn't wild about it, and then this time, I think it really clicked. Also, I think the first time I watched it, I was a teenager. I was not an adult.
It's
It
weird though.
grows on you for sure.
Well, I've had like a totally opposite experience. Like I've shown this movie to actually quite a few of my friends who, I mean, they like movies, but they're not like, I want to sit down and really watch these long, older movies.
Mhm.
And I've shown it to them, and I've only had people just like first time viewing, just being like, holy shit, that was a good movie. Like it sucks you, because I think it's what a good movie does, regardless if it's in Italian or if it's old and it's slower. If it's a good movie, it's a good movie. And I think The Godfather is a prime example of like, if you really just start watching it, you will get sucked into it. But it is a matter of putting yourself in like, all right, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna watch this,
Right, you can't be on your phone, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Okay, should we just jump into 3?
Yeah, we can.
And we can real quick. Let me ask you this: have any of y'all read the novel that
Ooh,
the
no.
first one's
Have
based
you?
on? Yes, I've read it before, and I'm currently listening to it on audiobook again.
Okay.
And it's like, so you know that scene at the wedding where I don't think it actually identifies her, but it's Sonny's wife, and she just doing like this, like she's talking about a dick.
Yeah, about how big his penis is.
Yeah.
'Cause she has a giant vagina, right?
No. In the book, there's a character called Lucy Mancini, and the thing is, she has like a medically problematic vagina. Like it's so big, it's actually a medical problem. This is a plot point. This isn't just a side thread. This is like literally the size of Sonny's dick, and her vagina is this plot point where it gets fucking crazy. That book is wild. Mario Puzo, God rest his soul, was a horny man.
I bet.
That is
It's just
ridiculous.
I cannot recommend the book enough. It is a wild ride. There's a lot more Johnny Fontaine stuff. It's all great.
Oh yeah. I bet
Okay,
there
that's
is.
cool. I bet there is. So is
And he, when Coppola first read the book, he was like, "This is too sleazy for me, dog." I'm not,
Yeah, you know how he got talked into making the movie, right?
yeah.
hell.
Yeah. He basically George Lucas had talked him into making this one crazy sci-fi movie that lost like a fuck ton of money, and then he like was trying to not do The Godfather, but he had to do it to recoup his losses.
It's funny you say that, because in the direct opposite way, during that same time, he challenged George Lucas, because George Lucas made THX 111 or whatever. He was like, make like a family drama or like a teen romance. Do that. I bet you can't do it. And then he made American Graffiti, and they both lost money because of it.
Yeah.
Oh man.
When let's see, wait, which studio did Godfather? I can't remember.
Paramount.
Yeah.
Pretty sure
Yeah.
it's Paramount.
Yeah, it's Paramount.
Okay. When they were trying to get money aside for the first Godfather, they had it at a certain budget because they had just lost money on THX 1138 and they were trying to recoup. So it's part of George Lucas's fault that Francis Ford Coppola had to fight for another budget. And then once the book kept exploding, getting more popular, and as it got more popular, the more money he got for the movie. So
not just that, Coppola had to fight for literally every single actor that he wanted in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
They did not want Pacino. They didn't want Brando. They didn't want any of those people.
Which is wild as fuck.
Yeah,
it is wild.
Brando
was already famous. He was already in On the Waterfront.
He was a wild card.
Oh yeah,
he was at that point like
he was a wild card.
Wild card. So.
But he was like, it's honestly a miracle that movie was made with Brando just being the way he was. Because like you know the thing like at the very beginning when he's in the study in the wedding with the cat.
That was a him decision, right? The cat?
Yeah, that was, he literally found the cat on the street on the way to shoot the scene, and he showed up and he was like, the cat's in the movie. And, everyone was just like, well, he's Brando. I guess we gotta do what he says.
Yeah,
and then like the next movie he did was Apocalypse Now, and he showed up. He was supposed to look like, like he did in The Godfather, but he had put on like 80 pounds, and they had to cut like a sword fight scene. It was fucking nuts.
Well, he did the same thing though with his like audition tape. They were like, "What do you have in your mouth?" And he put in cotton balls. He was like, "I'm doing this. Like, you're not going to stop me from doing this."
And he's just like, "Look, I mean, you've already paid me."
Yeah. But hey, back on track. Godfather 3.
Okay.
The best of the bunch. The creme de la creme.
Yeah, Francis Ford Coppola put out the new cut, and he says this is the way that him and Puzo originally wanted it to be, because they originally wanted it to be called Coda, The Death of Michael Corleone, but the studio's like, there's no fucking way we're calling it this.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and he had lost money from some movie. He tried to make a musical before this, apparently.
Yeah.
And a kids movie, I'm pretty sure.
It lost money. So they're like, just name this. Well, and in music, a coda is a passage that brings a piece to an end. Technically, is an expanded cadence and may be as simple as a few measures or as complex as an entire section. That's Wikipedia. So and that's why this is an epilogue and not a proper. Like,
and when you frame it as an epilogue, it somehow makes the movie better.
Yes. Absolutely, just structurally, like
structurally for sure.
You view it as a duology, and this is an epilogue.
Yeah.
Okay.
A victory lap.
So for people that haven't seen this new cuts, it's about 12 minutes shorter than the third one, the original cuts, and the scene at the beginning of the original cuts where it's like going over the barren, the old lake house from the second one. And it's like empty, and like Michael's like talking over it and shit. And there's like shows the flashback of Fredo's death and shit. That's not in the new cuts at all. The new cut starts with a scene with Michael and in like the Vatican, or like at the church, talking about Immobiliare, or however you pronounce it. Mm. And it's like
Immobiliare.
Yeah, whatever. And the way it starts with him doing business, and setting up this like new deal, it like sets the precedent for the rest of the movie, and it fits better than I'd say the original start. The original start, it's like too hung up from the events of the second one, and so I like that change, because I went and And so Brennan, basically the main difference is that certain scenes are extended and shortened. They fix up the pacing in certain scenes. He cut out some of the Sofia Coppola scenes that weren't necessary to the plot.
You mean the best part?
And he like shaped it up a little bit different, put certain scenes in a few different orders. And overall, from what I can tell, it really helps shift the tone a little bit into what it should be. And the tone being like this kind of like fall from grace, end of an era kind of thing. And from what I can tell, because I skipped through the original cut of the third one before I did this podcast so I could have more of an understanding, and it really just certain scenes feel tweaked enough to where I think it really makes it a little bit better, and feels more like an epilogue. And I think it makes a difference.
Is the ending still the same?
Huh?
Is the ending still the same?
The ending, okay. The ending of the original one shows him as an old man sitting in the chair, and he falls over dead, and it kind of just stays on him while he's on the ground, and then it cuts. The ending of this one, instead, it just shows him sitting in his old age, and he doesn't die, and it just cuts to black.
You assume it because it's called The Death of Michael Corleone.
Unless, I mean, now I assume the death is, poetic,
metaphorical.
Yeah.
It does seem more.
Because I mean, the death of Michael Corleone is when his daughter's killed in his arms, really.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly.
But, it's a weird cut because it's like they went in and restored the picture for this, and it looks a little bit better with the lighting and contrast than
See, that's one of my biggest issues because that original cut looks like shit. It looks like a TV movie sometimes. They fixed
a lot of the coloration and that soap opera look.
Yeah, it looks like a soap opera.
Jesus Christ, good.
That's probably And what I'm surprised about is that they went back and restored the picture, so they had the footage, but the ending shot of Michael as an old man is it just looks like they took it from the original and just like reversed order some of the shots, and it's like you don't have any, like, it felt like kind of like a rushed scene a little bit, and it's like you don't have any extra footage from shooting that you could have added in to make it a little more sustained. And I don't know, that was kind of weird. And also, when he said he was making a new ending, I kind of thought, well, maybe he's going to get Pacino now, who's like 80, to like...
And make the makeup not look like shit?
The makeup does look not great.
Yeah, and it's like, you have him now 80, you could have like gone out and maybe tweaked the ending a little bit, but,
He could be drinking a Dunkachino. I had to throw the Dunkachino in.
Yeah. Just do the same ending as The Irishman. Just have him sitting in a room.
I haven't seen it. Yeah.
Okay, whatever.
I'm not. Problem. It's been out.
That is my fucking problem. Sorry.
So those are the main differences. Overall, I had not seen this movie at all until I watched it yesterday, and it was not as bad as I had expected it to be. In fact, I enjoyed a lot of it, and I just, obviously it's not as good as the first two, but there's a lot of stuff in there that I did enjoy, and because I've Fredo being killed by Michael at the end of 2 is so brutal and so unforgiving and cold. It's like I want Michael to like suffer for that, and it's like it's cool how at the end of the second one it ends with him being alone. He alienated himself from everyone, because of his actions. That's a badass ending. But I do like seeing him try to repent for some of that shit in the third one. It's like, yeah, you motherfucker, you son of a bitch. Anyway,
son of a bitch.
Yeah. His so one of the, I think, underrated aspects of 3 is the diabetes plot line. just how he's, he's old, he's sick. I mean, the only people who really give a shit about him are kind of surprisingly Connie, who, was just furious with him for understandable reasons in 2. And then of course there's his daughter, but she doesn't really know shit, did he really have his brother killed? And just, fucking sad shit like that. And then there's like that scene where he's doing his confession in I think it's Italy, with that priest in the garden, and he gets sick and he asks for the orange juice. And I always like that's the part when I was watching it through for the first time, like forever ago, where I was like, you know what, this movie may have gotten a little bit of a bad rap, because there's parts of it that are unforgivable, but there's parts of it that are just like, very poignant, and you can really see the original 2 movies shining through. Like they're just trying to break out from this prison that was just so needlessly constructed around it.
Right.
Yeah, when he's chugging down that orange juice, it's so pathetic, and you're like, wow, shit.
It
really, like, I mean, I'm sure this illusion has been done to death, but, there's a lot of callbacks with, like, really throughout that movie to the scene in number 1 when Vito dies.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, the final shot.
Well, oranges are all throughout that first movie. They're like every time someone dies, there's like an orange around. It's very symbolic, and I do like that scene too a lot. That's that what is it? 30 years, like since he's repented
20.
last or something like that. 20.
Oh wait, since what?
No, 30 since he repented.
Yeah, since he got everything basically out and just really let it all out.
Yeah,
I do like that scene quite a lot.
I will say real quick, that priest's name, who ends up being an assassin, which we'll get to that. His name is Mosca. Mosca can translate as fly from Italian. So that's a hint to his character in the name.
What I was surprised about most was how Connie changed between the second and the third one, and how she's like so gung-ho with getting Vincent into like the family and like getting shit done. I'm like, damn, like you seem so like against so much shit before.
Isn't she the one that gives the dude the cannoli during the opera scene? Yeah.
And she like pretends to eat it too, and it's
I don't know if there's enough. There should have been more of a reason why she was so down with suddenly to be involved with all of the dirty shit.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, Connie was never truly opposed to anybody being involved in dirt. It's just kind of surprising that she was willing to like roll up her sleeves and get in it herself. I mean, she married Carlo, who was never very competent, but he was kind of a gangster from the beginning.
Well, because it always benefited her. She liked that life, being excess and all that.
Yeah, and I mean, like, to be fair, I mean, look at who her dad was. I mean, she was never going to be like, oh, gangster shit, that's bad. Like, that her whole life is founded on it.
I just feel like there's a jadedness in her old age, because you see her wearing significantly more jewelry and more opulent clothing in this movie when she's in the twilight of her life. And I feel like there's a resignation. I mean, her own family killed her husband. Right in the first one that happens.
At the very end. And then her brother too.
I think there's a point. There's almost like a PTSD to it, but I do agree. It feels somewhat unearned and a bit like, okay, this needs to happen for the script.
I think it's more the personal part of it, because wasn't she? Correct me if I'm wrong, but throughout the second one, she was pretty close to Fredo that entire time. Fredo was like the one that she was closest with. Am I wrong?
She wasn't not really that close to him. Like she, so after the stuff with where they kill Carlo, and then like that famous final scene in 1 when she comes in screaming, and Michael's like, she's delusional. Like the balls on that guy, by the way. But she just kind of. Like they especially go into this like in the beginning of number 2, where she's shown up, hasn't seen her kids in forever. Her own mother is like, well, you're gonna wait online to see your brother like everybody else. And she just really has very little connection with the family. And she even at one point in that early part of number 2 says that the only reason she still comes back to the compound is because she needs money. And she's just like making almost every single decision that she makes specifically to hurt Michael because she's still so angry about Carlo.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then, yeah.
I just think the movie could have done a better job in the third one of really addressing that. And just because her change in personality is not a change, but it is a little different. It is kind of like, okay, yeah.
I know at the end of the second one, she's like, I want to be back and closer to the family, Michael. You know, let me come back, you know. I get that, but like, I don't know. It just seems like all of a sudden, like, oh, she's up to some shit. Okay.
Yeah.
And why is she pushing so hard for Vincent to be, you know, taken under Michael's wing and shit? You know, it's like, okay. First of all, how do you guys feel about Vincent?
I think he's a cousin fucker, but other
He's
than that, he's
definitely
fine.
He's a cousin fucker.
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
I've been waiting to get into that, actually. That's like the one thing I wanted to talk about.
You know, you heard it here first. Dylan is waiting to get into cousin fucking.
Let's go, boys.
No, well, see, somehow I'd never been told about this
I
kind
have
of.
no idea.
So I'm watching this, and I'm like, wait a minute. And,
Oh shit!
like talking about it, and then it starts formulating in my mind. 2 and 2 comes together. I'm like, wait, no, surely not. And then we get to the gnocchi scene where they're making gnocchi, and like they get the hands. I'm like, surely not. And I wish you could have. I wish you could have been there to see my disbelief. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he sent me a Snapchat. And
Yeah.
it was just like utter, just like, what the fuck is happening? And I was like,
Oh yeah, that is some weird shit, man.
It
is-
reminded me of Clerks 2, where Rosario Dawson gets cream pied on the make table. Gets impregnated. That's what I thought of immediately. Something about the Italian families being corrupt and the Italian peninsula just being a smorgasbord of all these different like subcultures and like Sicilian.
The thing is, it really does. It just comes out of fucking nowhere because it's not like Michael was at any point in a situation where he was about to marry his cousin or Sonny or Fredo or none of them. This was not a thing.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, well, we've got a handsome male lead, and we've got my hot daughter over here who can't act for shit.
It's much weirder that it's
reason.
his own daughter.
Yeah.
His own daughter.
God.
He pimps out for an incestuous relationship in this film.
It is a really weird, like,
On a lot of levels.
It's almost
decision.
I was almost happy that she died, just so I was like, okay, now I don't have to know that they just spent the rest of their life in wedded extra chromosomal bliss. Like, this is just...
Godfather 4 would just be a bunch of cross-eyed babies like crashing their getaway cars.
Godfather 4, the Habsburgs return.
Well, what fucking
it's just
got
so
me?
unnecessary.
What got me was when Michael says to her, he says, "You guys are first cousins." She says, "Well, then I'll love him first."
Yes! Oh my God. That is the greatest line. I think that is the best line in the history of cinema.
What were they thinking?
Here's the thing. Some people crap on, I really compare Sophia's Coppola's performance to Hayden Christensen's. In
I was about to say.
In that some of the lines she's given, like Al Pacino cannot make them work.
Yeah,
like,
not even your best actor can make them work. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Like at the beginning when she's flirting with Vincent Andy Garcia, who's actually like in his mid-30s in this film. He looks like he could be 21, but the she's like, I was 8 and you were 15. I'm like, are you flirting, mentioning about when you were 8 years old? Because that's not sexy to me. But apparently Francis Ford Coppola has some fucking hangups. I don't know.
With fucking Padme.
Yeah, exactly.
Just Francis Ford Coppola counting down the days until he can talk about the thing now that it's past the statute of limitations.
Ooh.
I'm
Yeah,
not
it felt
gonna
like
say
a Woody Allen movie for a minute.
I'm about to say, I'm not gonna listen, man, there was the 70s whenever they were in their heyday. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some really weird foul shit happening. Because I'm pretty sure like 95% of directors were up to some weird foul shit.
Dude, I mean, we've had the Epstein revelations come out since then. You think there wasn't? You think there weren't Epsteins in the 70s pre-internet?
I'm sure there were, but this just feels like because Epstein is like this weird rapey like little kid shit, and then this is just like it just feels like a dude who instead of making a movie should have just put a camera on his face and just been like, listen, I think that my cousin just the hottest piece of ass.
I mean, Scott, you're right. Like, it's like the Woody Allen thing. It's like, if you guys ever seen Manhattan, the movie Manhattan?
I can't because I can't at this point.
Well, it's literally like, why make the romantic lead 17? Why make her a high schooler? Like, Woody Allen literally made the romantic lead a high schooler. That's the whole point of it. And it just is like, why do that? You don't need to do that.
I mean, is it like plot relevant or is it just a thing?
No, that's his girlfriend.
Talked to a 17-year-old?
That's his girlfriend. That's his girlfriend. Like, he's like a 40-year-old man, and he is being divorced by Meryl Streep, and he has a new 17-year-old girlfriend.
Meryl Streep.
Yeah,
dude,
it's just like no need to do that.
Well, here's all I gotta say. Pizzagate. What country is pizza from? Exactly.
Wait, hold on. There's actually a weird full circle thing because Sofia Coppola had that new movie On the Rocks come out with Bill Murray.
Yeah.
And the movie is about a girl, and a lot of times Sofia Coppola's movies are like about her life, pretty much.
Yeah.
And this movie is about this girl or this woman who thinks her husband's cheating on her, so she gets like her Playboy, disgusting dad to help find or tail this guy to see if he's cheating. And this dude is just straight up like, he's like, Bill Murray, like 70 years old, and he's like into young women, and he's kind of sleazy and whatnot. And I'm just like, I wonder if that's based off of her own dad,
Oh, shit.
I love how quickly we got into conspiracy theories with the Coppolas on this.
I want to say
life imitates art.
I want to say that Sofia Coppola's, now I know he cut some of her shit in this new cut, but like it wasn't the worst. Like there are certain parts where I'm like, oh, okay, that was weird line delivery, but this is coming from someone who loves Attack of the Clones for these very reasons. And so, I can get behind weird hammy delivery. But some of her facial expressions though were fucking annoying.
She looks like she's always constipated.
Her physical expressions were.
She's like,
her teeth kind of.
Thing.
I don't know how old she was when this was filmed. You looked dumb. I will say, if her performance, while clearly the weakest of the movie, if I hadn't heard beforehand, if it hadn't been hyped up about how quote unquote terrible her performance was, I don't think I would have noticed her performance as especially egregious. I don't think it is now. And apparently they cut out a lot of the more egregious parts with her performance, which is good, I suppose.
Do you mean from Coda?
Yeah, they cut out some of her, apparently her worst crap. But like, it was awkward that first scene, but the later scenes, like when she gets shot, it's a little hammy. But like, it doesn't ruin the movie for this. And honestly, I'll just say this right now. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. It's obviously not as good as the other two, but like going into it with the expectations that I did, like this is like a B+ movie for me,
Well, it was 1920.
When we were playing COD the other day, Brennan said that like you like if you don't compare it to the first two, which is
this is my just
go for
it.
Like
if I have to introduce this movie to somebody who's never seen it before, I always say this same thing, which is that it's actually a good movie. It's just by comparison with the masterpieces that are the first two that it gets like thought of as not just a worse movie than those, but an actually bad movie. Right. And there's like, it's like Sofia Coppola's acting, the lighting in some of the scenes, really just the interior scenes, and only some of them, not really anything outside, I don't think is that bad. And some of the like, there's also just like a little bit of Al Pacino's, hoo-ah kind of stuff. Like when he's having the heart attack and he's like, Altobello, you fuck! And it's like, okay, get
Great
it out of
ass!
your system. Yeah,
But-
exactly.
Wait, what
He's
is
like,
it?
did you
Like,
forget what
they
movie
keep
you were
pulling me
shooting?
back in?
Dude,
Yeah.
here's the thing. When he said that, I keep getting out. Whenever I try to get out, they keep bringing me back in. It was hammy. I was into it. I
love that.
was sold.
No, I love that
I was
too.
That's a
invested in the
classic
character.
line.
It's a classic line. Michael Corleone is easily, maybe a top 10 greatest movie character of all time, greatest performance of all time, and like the weight of that line and the epic scope of this story, like haminess aside, I was sold. I don't know. I was into it.
No, yeah, for sure. And what I like is that it wasn't, so many sequels to movies have problems doing the same old shit. This was completely different. This was about the Catholic Church and like big time like dealings within the Vatican and like different shit like that.
Crazy shit.
And it was like that all felt fresh to me, and it felt, well, it's quote unquote contemporary, more contemporary because
right. I just did the math. I didn't realize this. If you want to feel old, so The Godfather Part III came out in 1990, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so from 1976 to 1990 is 24 years. From this movie to now is 30 years.
Wait, it's 7?
No, it's 14 years. 14 years.
Yeah, 14
excuse me,
years.
not 24.
Oh man.
And that's 30 years. So it's over twice the distance from now to Godfather Part 3 than from Godfather Part 3 to Godfather Part 2.
Now it's probably
it's a 90s looking movie.
It's the same thing with it's about the same time period between Return of the Jedi and Phantom Menace, and you know how that turned out for fans. I'm not saying The Godfather Part 3 is on the same level as Phantom Menace, but you can see how like the OG fans were disappointed.
Right.
And people like us who didn't fucking wait that long for this movie can, easily enjoy it better, I think.
Right. And as we already said, the fact that viewing this as Coda and not as Godfather Part 3,
yes,
which it is not, makes the movie so much better.
The cut definitely frames it better as an epilogue and makes it, I think, a stronger viewing experience.
Absolutely.
So I would
let me ask this real quick.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of the conspicuous absence of Tom Hagen from number 3?
That was a disappointing thing. I was hoping to see way more.
He's one of my favorite characters. He seems to be one of the few characters who really actually does seem fairly morally upstanding.
He has a conscience. Yeah.
That's what I love about Robert Duvall's the shit. It was Payment Dispute.
Yeah.
That was I read it up.
Oh, really?
I didn't think about it into the movie, especially because these are all very complex plots. I mean, you have Vatican-level conspiracies in 3, which almost jumps the shark, but like
I think it jumps the shark a little bit. That's
I think it does. I think it does a little, but also like these are also based on like real things the Vatican is doing.
To me, I don't have to suspend my disbelief that bad for the Vatican being involved in greasy shit like that.
And this is not that bad compared to other shit the Vatican has done. I mean, historically, we have everything from witch burnings to child fucking. This is like, what did they embezzle? Like $50 million? Who gives a fuck? They did and I will say there's this like thread of, it's obviously corruption is really important to The Godfather. I mean, it's like, it's the bread and butter of the whole story. But when you think about it, the first like really corrupt official you ever meet in that series is Officer Captain McCluskey, who's Sollozzo's bodyguard, and then you meet Senator Geary in number 2, and it's it's national level shit and not just some fucking cop in New York. And then it like graduates to this international like holy shit, and the Pope's getting assassinated. What the hell? Like, it's just this, it's great. I feel like it doesn't jump the shark because it like is very upfront with you from the beginning. Like, this is about corruption and people who you thought were incorruptible, from cops to senators and now the church itself.
Well, the only thing about it is that it's a little on the nose with the fact that all this shit going on is like grand and operatic, and then it literally ends with an opera. It's a little
yes. That is definitely one of the heavy-handed aspects of it.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, dude, when in the opera we see the woman who I assume is freaking Mary or whoever, have like the black veil over her head, and then we see Connie do the exact same thing like 5 minutes later in the film when her daughter dies. I'm like, okay, we get it. This movie's made for my mom. Like, she, we need the symbolism to be very
hit you in the
on the nose. Still dug the hell out of it. All that opera stuff, though.
Yeah,
it's great. I'm glad that you made the comparison, Adrian, to Attack of the Clones in particular, but just kind of Star Wars in general, where it's like, grand scale stuff. Like, you don't really go to Star Wars for the Oscar-worthy performances, but you kind of do expect that from Godfather, and I think that's why the prequels are, pretty much. I mean, they get some shit, but the fans love the prequels, and people who love The Godfather, they will be very straight up with you, like, 3, it really didn't do it as well as the first 2.
Right.
I was genuinely surprised how much I did enjoy it. And what I liked is how the new cut seems to kind of change a little bit of the tone between Michael and Kay when they're overseas and he's showing her around and stuff. There's a scene where they're talking to each other about stuff, and he's trying to convince her that, like, he's come a long way and all this. And I do like seeing that, although he's a fuck for beating the shit out of her and like taking the kid, doing all that shit in the second one. And it's not really that forgivable. And of course, you can see where she's coming from. And obviously, time always loosens up these things that have happened to people, but like, you get a tinge of like, oh, maybe they can get back together. It's kind of nice that they've been talking. And then she sees she sees Michael go outside and learn that what's his name been killed, and she's like, nothing's changed and stuff. But what I noticed in the original cut is that the way the certain scenes are edited almost makes the talking between him and Kay seem more tense than it is in this new cut. Just a little bit, and I think it's just a little bit enough to make it a little more complex and interesting, because she admits that she's always loved him, and obviously it shows with the way the scene is edited. I think it did a good job in making it not overly just straightforward with like how they interact with each other, and I like that aspect of the film a lot.
Real quick cinematic parallel note on one of the shots, right when good old Diane Keaton says it never ends, because he's getting told about the goings-ons with everything happening in this movie. You see her framed in the doorway, and after she says that, she leaves, which is a very clear cinematic parallel to the final shot of the first movie, where she's getting literally shut out by the patriarchy. Godfather, this is patriarchal as shit movies. And they're shutting her out, but this time she's leaving of her own volition, which is very, that's very simple but easy to miss.
That's really cool.
As a scholar once said, it's like poetry. It rhymes.
It's like poetry.
And then of course the scene in the second one where she's shut out from her kids by Michael, who just slams the door on her.
Yeah, of course.
And
like, they do I don't know. Coppola was really driven in a lot of the subtextual stuff. Like, he was, there's a lot of Marxist allegories, and like the one that always comes to mind is this idea of primitive accumulation, which is this Marxist idea about where all these European countries got the capital to actually begin capitalism. And the idea is that, like, they raided Asian and Middle Eastern countries, and then they got the capital to start up an actual capitalist system. But in The Godfather, you see them time and time again going back to the primitive accumulation well. I mean, they're murdering people. Like, it's not just one thing that you have to do once and then you can move on. It's this constant cycle of violence. And then, like you mentioned, the patriarchal stuff is so, I mean, it's almost on the nose, but especially in the first two, it's just so well done that it's not really.
Yeah. And the fact that it's so, by nature of it being Hollywood, it's so glamorized and glorified that you can almost forgive it. And you like these characters so much.
Yeah.
I mean, I almost wanted, Michael to get away with it in this third movie, even though he doesn't deserve it. And he deserves to atone for his sins. But even then.
My favorite aspect of these movies is just watching how easily all these characters will step over the line that they've drawn over and over and over again. And just seeing that progress and decay into what it is now.
I think that's why I love the first one so much. It's
how
easily,
example
of that,
how easily Vito's like, yeah, let's get into narcotics, like
yeah.
Or
I mean, I will push back on that just a little bit, because for Vito to agree to get into narcotics, I mean, one of his kids died, another got sent out west to Nevada, where he was being slapped around by Mo Green all the time. Another one is out in Italy.
Because he killed a man,
Yeah.
And he was the straight and narrow. He was the one who was going to be outside of the family. He was going to make it straight, straight-laced kid,
Yeah, and like for him to agree to like, okay, I'll use my political connections, I'll finance some of this shit. I mean, his family was almost destroyed for him to get, and he almost died.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. But also, it's like, in the first one, how Michael just decides, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to kill this motherfucker. It's like, whoa, okay.
Well, he doesn't just say fuck it, to be fair.
I know, but like, I don't know if there could have been a little bit more growth in his character and how he thinks before he.
I agree. In my headcanon, Godfather headcanon, I think a lot of it has to do with the war. I think because we see at the end, final scene of Godfather Part II, he drops out of university after Pearl Harbor to enlist, and I think he probably saw some shit, probably killed some people over there wherever he was stationed, and like that's my headcanon. I don't disagree with you, but motherfucker saw World War II, and his dad's Don Vito. So the guy's used to death, and so I think at a certain point he just kind of gave up on it.
I think, and also family. Literally, Michael's whole character is family. Family is everything,
and like a Fast and the Furious movie.
And they're coming for his dad, who's like on death's door. Like, there's no way he's not. And then they beat the shit out of him because he's trying to defend his dad. There's no way he's not going to at least be like, all right, what do we need to do? No one's
this is one of the only flaws that I think is in the first movie, and it's not even really a flaw of the movie itself, but more of the adaptation from the book to the movie. Because in the book, they mention, like, they go into a lot more detail about when McCluskey punches Michael outside the hospital, and he loses 4 teeth. They have to like dig shards of teeth out of his gums, and he's got like a drugged wire holding his jaw together. And then when he's over in Italy, he's got like, it's like almost getting infected, and he's like personally furious about this shit.
Well, I thought they did a good job of showing you his fucking face, where he can barely talk, and his face is like that big. It's like, no shit. No, he's not going to let that like slide,
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like, I mean, everything Michael says about why they need to take out McCluskey and Sollozzo, it makes sense. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that logic.
Well, also, Sonny is always portrayed as the hot-headed guy, but Michael's just hot-headed. He's just fucking silent about it.
But Michael's been to war. He is like that tactician. He knows that if we're going to do this, we got to do it, and we're going to be angry about it, but we have to think about it first, about what we're going to do and how to do it.
And he maintains that hypocrisy through this whole third movie.
Yeah.
Where he's like telling people, like, don't get involved. And he's like, All right, let's kill some people.
Yeah.
You know, there's that scene in number 2 when he says, you know, never hate your enemies. It clouds your judgment. And
Yes.
it's like, well, you would fucking know, wouldn't you? Because
Yeah.
you hate like everybody you've ever met.
Yeah.
Yeah, him killing Fredo is one of the most unforgivable, horrible things I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fucked.
That broke my fucking heart the first time I saw it.
And seeing it, because this was only the second time I'd seen the second movie. That the ending fucking hit me so much harder this time. And
it's so sad. Fredo they make Fredo such a good, pathetic, but like likable character that you're just like, God damn it. Like, and the guy who plays Fredo, which he's only like in 3 movies. It's like the first Godfather, that one, and Dog Day Afternoon, which you haven't seen that one. Al Pacino and him, they're so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, the guy who plays him, I can't remember what his name is. You just see
Don
it in his eyes.
Cazzo, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But
Don Paisan. Don Paisan.
hey.
Sorry, casual racism aside.
But yeah, it's really great. You really feel it, and that's what makes it so fucked up and so heartbreaking at the end, because you love both those characters so much, and you're just like, don't fucking do it. Don't do it.
Dude,
I've never actively been like, don't do that, like to a screen, but I was shouting at my screen because I rewatched the second one again too a few days ago, and I was like, oh, they just get you so wound up.
They do, like, and you know, because they don't exactly hide from you that this is about to happen, because Michael, you know, he says, I don't want anything to happen to him while my mother's alive. And that
makes it worse.
Yes, and it's like, you know, it's coming, but you're not sure. It's like, maybe he won't go through with it, and then they call Anthony away when they're about to go fishing, and it just Hail Mary full of
in its own way. In its own way, it's like Hitchcock. He would talk about like the bomb under the table, and we, as the audience, know that bomb is under that table, but the characters don't know yet. And the bomb is Michael, and you just know that it's gonna go off, but you don't know when, and it's just that drawn out tension that just like makes your asshole clench the entire time.
When I was rewatching it the other day, as soon as they call Anthony and says that he wants him to go with them, as soon as they did that, my stomach dropped. I was like, God damn it.
I will say,
I call it
storytelling.
Yeah, I call it storytelling. What were you gonna say, Brennan?
Yeah, if y'all want a palate cleanser after the seriousness of these movies, one of the best things you can do, and I'm this is gonna sound like I'm joking, I mean this sincerely, is play the video games, The Godfather and The Godfather 2. Yeah, because one, they are not good. Okay, they're GTA clones, but like, so they like shoehorn these like new characters in ways that make like no fucking sense at all. So it's like, you can't really take it that seriously, but it's almost like a way to enjoy The Godfather without having your heart ripped out of your chest.
I'm actually into that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, actually.
Well,
it's
like
my guilty
PlayStation 2
pleasure games. Yeah, they've got the first one, which is basically just like a straight up GTA clone.
Yeah.
And then they tried to make it like a more strategic kind of game in number 2, but it's like really fucking dumb. Like,
I think you should just like continue like the despair, like just go on a 70s binge, like watch Chinatown. Fuck it. More incest, more rape, shit like that.
I might do it. I haven't seen Chinatown.
You know, the 70s was an objectively shitty decade just for the people who lived through it, but in terms of cinema, I mean, you know, like they had like fucking gasoline shortages in Vietnam and all that shit, but then we got like some good movies out of it. So I really think, you know,
I mean,
good
the
for
70s
us.
were known as like
that's my favorite decade in cinema.
Yeah. Go watch Taxi Driver or like friggin' French Connection. You know, just get really disgusting with the rest of your day, and I think you know,
I just might.
Just overdose on misery.
Yeah.
There's a Charles Bronson movie I really like that's underrated as fuck. The Mechanic from the same Godfather.
Yeah. And you know that because of Joey Diaz.
Yeah, he recommended it and I watched it. Yeah, I really enjoyed it way more than I thought.
Okay.
Going back to the third Godfather, the fucking final scene at the opera could have been trimmed down by like 5 minutes.
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems to go on too long.
There's no tension either. You just know it's like the opposite to me of like I know people are about to die.
And the tension, is not the same. You compare it to the first one, which has plenty of great scenes with tension. Like when Michael's going into the bathroom to get the gun, you know he's going to get the gun, but you're like, oh shit, where is it? Oh fuck! And then he pulls it out, and then he goes out there, and you're thinking,
hospital.
The hospital scene.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite scenes in any movie.
Or the sphincter clenching.
Or a different type of tension, like when Sonny dies. It's that tension of like, why is he stopped for so long? It's like that split second, like, oh God, oh no.
Yeah.
And then it happens. And then it's that release that you're just like, oh shit.
And it's just, like you see like the guy, he drops the change and you're like, oh, I've been there, that fucking oh dear.
Yeah, exactly. It's that split section, like, oh no, this is a mob movie. He's about to fucking die.
Anywhere. Like you forgot what you were watching for half of a second, and then you see like Tommy guns, and it's like no.
Right.
Yeah, the best one for me is in the second one, with young Vito and when
Panucci.
Huh?
I thought
when he gets yeah, dude, it's like they could be coming out of nowhere. Like, and when they're having the festival, and like the dude who's holding the Christ thing, whatever it's called, and he just pulls out a gun from underneath his costume. It's like, oh shit, this could be.
I will say the second one has one of my favorite frames, like in cinema ever, is whenever him and what's Vito's partner's name? Like the guy.
There's Clemenza and Tessio.
I think it's Clemenza. I can't remember, but it's the scene where like they're in the dude's house and they're stealing shit. And then,
that's Clemenza.
Yeah, Clemenza, and then like you see the cops like bang on the door, and then it's like you just see Clemenza with his gun ready to fucking fire.
That's an iconic shot.
That shit gets me riled up. It's so beautiful.
I remember the first time I saw that scene. It's so fucking good, man.
Yeah.
And it's like, because you can see Vito's face is like he was trying, like before the cop knocked on the door, he was like trying to put it together. Like something's not right here. I don't know if Clemenza knows this guy. And then by the time he realizes that a cop's about to get shot, he's just like, fuck.
And you have to appreciate the color palette and the look of the scene. It looks like they somehow teleported back to 1917 and like filmed it.
It looks like a Scott.
It looks so old world.
Sepia toned.
Yeah. Well, it just looks so old world and authentic. I love the way. Looks so good.
One other thing, like, okay, so I don't know what it is, but I swear to God, when they cast Tessio, like young Tessio, back in 1917.
Yeah.
I swear to God, they must have sent out a casting call for a guy who none of his facial features look like they should be on the same face as any of the rest of them. Like, he's just a weird looking dude.
Hold on, keep talking, but I think keep going. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Anyway, that was all I was gonna say. He's just a fucking weird look. I didn't even realize this until like last Friday was my anniversary, and we always watch one of the Godfather movies on my anniversary, and so I was watching this, and I was just like, this guy, it's not that he's ugly, he just doesn't look like a person. Like, he looks like you tried to draw like just a generic person who you had never seen before.
Yeah, I had to look up the photo of him again, but I understand exactly what you're saying. Oh, shit.
So, yeah, from what I can tell, the color grading has been mostly restored and better in the third one to match it up a little bit more with the original cut of 3. Except for one scene, it still has that weird look to it, and it's the scene where those assassins come into Vincent's apartment when he's sleeping with that chick, and I noticed the shadows in that scene. I was like, oh, they couldn't quite fix this, obviously, because the lighting was done on the set and when they were actually filming it, so it was too hard to manipulate, I guess, in post when he was doing a restoration. But that scene, well, is there at any point where you can like really deeply identify with Vincent and like care for him? Because for me, he's too cold, I think, for most of the movie for me to really give too
He's
much of a
cold.
shit about.
He's bland to me as a like. I think what's his face is a great actor, but I don't know. There's something about that storyline in general. I don't connect with him at all.
I don't buy him as Sonny's kid, for
Yeah.
sure. Like, Sonny's a hothead, and you believe it with James Caan. But then in 3, it's like, he's almost just like Michael, you know? Like, he's just a cold, calculating kind of guy. But he smiles
he
a
doesn't
little.
have the extra oomph. I don't know. When he becomes the Don,
It's underwhelming.
It's underwhelming.
yeah.
That's one of my biggest issues with the film, for sure.
Well, personally, I think
that's
Joey
why I'm so
Zaza
lukewarm.
should have been the Don. I mean, that guy, that was a trustworthy fellow.
One of our introductions to his character is him biting Joe Montana's ear off.
Yeah.
I don't know
He
where
got
you
really
go.
quiet.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, much
Yeah.
better.
Well, yeah. One of the introduction to him is him biting Joe Montana's ear off.
Yeah, that's
which
a
I
little
actually like.
much.
It is a bit much. I actually like Joe Montana's performance in this, or however you say it, which is weird because I mainly know him from Baby's Day Out because I watched that.
I forgot about that movie.
Oh, I didn't.
What? So okay. What are your favorite aspects of the third one, and what are your absolute like worst like things that you don't, you know? Because what I like most is all of the Vatican conspiracy shit, because that's something that's the kind of shit that I like, and I like him trying to atone for his sins and having to pay up basically, and I like the him having health problems, and I don't know, and his interaction with Kay when they're in Sicily and stuff. What I hate the most, or I dislike the most, is like I said, how Vincent could have been done a lot better, and how some of the politics and shit in that movie get kind of muddled, and it's not as clear as it could be, and some of the action, the suspense could have been a little bit heightened, and the ending could have been shortened a little bit.
I think for me, like, the reason why I didn't enjoy it as much as you guys do, it feels just so lukewarm to me. Like, the whole movie, it's not bad. I mean, there are some bad parts to it, but there's nothing great. And I can't help but compare it to the other two. I just can't. I cannot separate it because it's so tied to the first two. It's literally, you know, it's hard for me to separate it as its own movie. And I think that's why I don't know. I mean, it's like I said, I don't hate it or anything. I just think it's kind of all right. And, you know, and there are some good things in it. There's some not so good things in it. I really just can't stand the lighting because I haven't seen the remastered version. The first two movies have such a specific tone and look to it that makes it like you just feel like you're in that world. I don't know. Yeah.
I almost even and I really gave this movie the benefit of the doubt. I wanted to enjoy this movie, which helped a lot. I almost enjoy the like wider color grading, washed out look because it kind of reflects the aged Corleones. Man, The Godfather is just an epic saga that is practically unparalleled in cinema, certainly American cinema, and this is just more of that, and it adds to the scale. It makes it like, you know, generational and not just bi-generational. Cousin fucking could have done without. We're gonna say least. I don't know. What about you, Brennan? Pull this out.
Things I like. I mean, mostly I like. This is gonna sound kind of weird, but I think that the jump from like kind of national level intrigue in 2 to international shenanigans in number 3. I actually think that was very well done, and I do love the intrigue and the Vatican conspiracies and all that. But it's just like, you know, like there's something about Michael Corleone being involved in it that makes an otherwise kind of bland idea into something very energizing that I just really love. Right. But then stuff I don't like could probably fill a book, even though I do like this movie. If I had to pick just one, I would say I hate watching it knowing that we could have had Tom Hagen, but they wouldn't pay Robert Duvall more. Like that annoys the fuck out of me, because that I think could have taken it from the level it was at to being, worthy of being called a Godfather movie.
Some great drama could have come out of that.
Yeah,
that's true. He could have been like, I've been with this family for 50 years or whatever.
Yeah, and it's so rich because he's not really adopted and he's not Italian, and he's kind of in a roundabout way responsible for Sonny's death, and he's never really forgiven himself, and Michael has always kind of been stringing him along and never really loved him like a brother, even though he says he does. And there's just so much there that we just didn't get to see, and we never will. It's just
I agree
lost.
with that completely. Yeah. It would have definitely elevated the movie, regardless of the rest of the movie.
Yeah. Also, just because I have to say it, Sofia Coppola, please direct more movies, act in fewer. Dear God.
What I will say is that to people like Dylan, is that maybe if you feel like it, give the third one another shot by watching this new cut, because I think the tweaks, from what I can tell, are noticeable enough to put it in a slightly different light of an epilogue with, and I think it really helps the movie.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. I the other day I put on the third one and I got like 30 minutes into it. I was like, I'm just kind of all right. I just don't, and then I didn't finish it because I got distracted by something else. And I really don't get distracted in movies. I really don't. Wow. But I just
okay. Well, I do like that all three movies.
I think it's just one that I would. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just just like, I guess I like how all three movies start with the Don doing favors for people during a party and or during an event, and they also have the same end where they take out a bunch of different people, and all three of them do that. And I don't know.
It's very Italian.
Yeah. And,
I do want to rewatch it with the new Coda, though. I think that is interesting. I definitely will watch it with that new.
Let me ask you this real quick. So there's one scene in particular that it's not that the whole idea is weird, but it just makes no sense, I don't think, in the context of what the first two movies were. And that's the scene where Michael is trying to retire and they're passing around all the gifts, and then Joey Zaza leaves, and then all of a sudden a fucking minigun from a helicopter is just tearing people. That scene I cannot reconcile with. It's like the craziest thing that's happened up to this point is a bunch of guys with Tommy guns mowing down Sonny Corleone, and then all of a sudden we have like Vietnam level violence happening in the middle of New York.
Well, helicopters weren't invented yet. It's a movie. You gotta escalate with each installment.
I weirdly like that scene.
It took me out of it.
I enjoy it. It just feels really weird in a Godfather movie.
It's true, because literally, like, take a shot every time someone gets strangled. That's like all they do is they strangle people. They'll occasionally shoot someone, but oh my god, they will strangle the fuck out of you. There's so many like strangulations and like wire, like so many of it.
The one I enjoy the most is Carlo. I mean, if anybody had it coming, that son of a bitch deserves it.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, a real bastard. There's one thing in the book where, like, I think every single character at one point refers to some other character as a lousy bastard, and Carlo is the one who gets called that the most. And it's very accurate. He sucks.
How much more? Like, the first one has Italian slurs like wop and guinea, like 50 times more than the other two movies. I don't think it at all in like the third or second. Not really.
No, in the third one, like pretty much. Third one's all Italians and Italians because they're in Italy. And it's coming together with the immigrant experience.
Yeah.
That's another thing I really like. It really brings together like the history of the Italian people. It digs deep into that in the third one, which I like. By the way, I watched the first one when I rewatched it just to practice. I watched it with Spanish subtitles, and like those words don't translate to Spanish, man. Those are American words. I'll just tell you that much.
Yeah, I don't know. Like WAP, especially. How would that one I just imagine like a person from South America like trying to explain to them why this is offensive, and it's like you just got to understand the context. I can't explain it.
Somehow, me or my dad being called a wop is somehow even more offensive to me because it's like I'm not even Italian, you dumb fuck.
Dude, you've been called gypsy before. That's way
Yeah, that's a fucking
Oh, Jesus.
I've been called Romanian slurs, Italian slurs, and Mexican slurs.
Yeah.
Like, you're fucking.
Dylan calls you the N-word all the time.
All the time.
And I'm like, what the fuck? Okay, real quick. One time, my dad's friends was at his restaurant and they were eating, and they had my dad's friend brought this like guy who was like a redneck kind of guy, uncultured, and while my dad was in the kitchen, he told the redneck guy, he's like, ask Bruno for a wop salad, it's really good. And so my dad comes back in and he's like, Bruno, let me get a wop salad. And my dad's like, what the fuck did you just say to me? And like he fucking picked the guy up out of his chair. And then my dad's friend's like, no, wait. And like, I don't think he's ever been close to like literally throwing someone out of the restaurant.
Holy shit.
Like imagine that, and the guy's like, whoa, what? And just imagine not knowing that that's a slur. Oh my God.
Oh, that's great.
That's fucked up.
It's really fucking bad.
And that's the title of Godfather Part 4.
Godfather Part
Salad.
I would. Oh man.
Hey boys, speaking of restaurants, real quick, I gotta dip out. I gotta get ready for work.
Okay.
Go to work, big boy.
We're
gonna wrap up in a second anyway.
All right, but final thoughts is Godfather Part 3 is meh to me, and I love the other two. I love you guys.
Yeah.
Oh.
Go with God.
Oh man. I will say, like, just because this reminded me of that, but you know how, like, it's just a throwaway line, but when Fredo and Michael are in Cuba in number 2, and he tells, like, Fredo confides in Michael that Sonny used to tell him that he was abandoned on their doorstep by gypsies.
Oh,
and he just has the most crestfallen look. I just want to hug him. Oh, and then he dies.
Rip.
Yeah.
Actually, my first interaction with The Godfather, my dad obviously watched it all the time because he's a stereotype. But I remember laying in my bed. He had the TV up loud, and I was like 8, and I was a very sensitive kid. And I remember not knowing what's going on the TV. It's the baptism at the end, and I hear a baby crying a shit ton, and then I hear a bunch of fucking guns and shit. So in my 8-year-old mind, I'm like scared to death. I'm like, my dad's watching a movie of a kid getting fucking murdered or something. I started getting like about to like cry, and he had to assure me that it was not what I thought it was.
He's like, son, I'm not into snuff films. I didn't think I needed to tell you this.
Yeah. And also, your dad, he's Albanian. He hates Serbians. He hates the Serbians.
And, God. But it wasn't until I watched The Godfather for the first time that I recognized it. I was like, oh, of course, this is what he was watching. It was just interesting. And now
that's such a good scene.
It is. And it's just like, oh, fuck. Yeah, the first one's, my favorite for sure. Now, I have to say, out of gangster mobster movies, Goodfellas for me is my favorite of all time. I don't know. Is Godfather your favorite? Because you seem to really like it.
Yeah, I'd have to say so. Because I love Goodfellas. That's an amazing movie. Joe Pesci alone makes that movie like endlessly enjoyable. Like I'll never forget that scene when he's complaining about like the woman who won't go out with him alone. He's like, "You believe that? A Jew broad, prejudiced against Italians." And I almost fall out of my chair laughing every time. But there's something about The Godfather. Like one, it's knowing what it did for movies. and 2, it's just like, okay, I think I can narrow it down to this one thing. There's the scene where after Sonny died, they're having the big conference with all the families from all over the country, and you see Emilio Barzini kind of tips his hand a little bit, and then later on in the car when Tom is surprised, like he's surprised that it's not Tatalia that Vito is concerned about, and he's just like, Tatalia's a pimp. And it's this sense that you have of who Vito is, like this richness of character, that he is a violent guy who will murder you, but if there's certain things that he just has like this honor code about. And it's such a deep character moment, and I don't think there's anything like that in Goodfellas, like not to that level.
Okay, well, I'm trying to think. I just Goodfella hits just a few of notes of importance to me with its style that is just a little bit better to me. But they're both masterpieces to me, and rewatching The Godfather this time has like cemented it more so as a favorite of mine than ever before, which I'm really happy about.
Yeah.
Because like there are those movies that have been hyped up for decades, and then you watch it and then they don't live up to the hype. But this is one of those that does, and it's nice when that happens.
Yeah.
Like another example, Citizen Kane. Sometime I went into that thinking like, this is probably just some another old movie, and then I watched it. I was like, oh no, this is a fucking great film.
Yeah.
And I'm just glad The Godfather continues to this day to maintain relevancy in pop culture.
Yeah, it like every new generation, I think, like no matter how jaded people feel, like when they watch The Godfather for the first time, like they enjoy that movie, except for people like my brother who can, I don't know, go swimming with lead shoes. Just fuck you.
Yeah. But you love him anyway. Just like we love Sumner, even though he made us watch Godfather Part II without any Italian stuff.
I will, okay, real quick, I do want to tell this story just because it's funny as shit. But so the very first time I met my husband, we were talking just over text, and he mentions he's never seen The Godfather. And when somebody tells me they've never seen The Godfather, I'm like, we're remedying this situation. And I've got like this box set that I've had since I was 14. Like it's just the DVDs. One of them's all mangled because of my dog. Like started playing with it when I was not looking. And so like I go down to his dorm room and we put it in, and for some fucking reason I cannot explain, it starts playing in French like 20 minutes in. Like the audio is French and there's no subtitles, and we couldn't change it back. And so it wasn't until like actually like a year later that he actually saw The Godfather for the first time. Wow. But that's actually why I watched The Godfather on my anniversary.
So fucking strange.
Oh, that's cute.
I have no idea what the fuck happened. But yeah, it's just a great movie, and it's even fun in French, even if you don't speak French. But not your first time. You don't want to watch it in French your first time.
Like if it was like accidentally an Italian dub, that make
I could live with that. That would make
French.
Dude,
what if it was like in Italian, except the parts shot in Italian and those are in English? That would be stupid as shit.
Okay, I really gotta go. It's 11:40 and I got work tomorrow.
All right. It was cool talking to y'all.
Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Next episode is going to be the Christmas cast, so that'll be fun. We're going to be talking about general Christmas movies that we like, and a few Kino movies that could be considered.
Gentiles only.
Tokyo Godfathers, maybe even Brazil.
Oh, he's gone.
All right,
Yeah.
well,
all right.
Scott.
See ya.
All right, thanks for watching, everybody. All right, see ya.